A while ago, I saw Zerkovic's video about homeless Skarbrand. As I was currently playing Nakari, I realized that Nakari has the potential to become homeless too, but with style. So how fitting that Skarbrand has to take out the seducers. He must be jealous of Nakari. Let's show him how not just to survive when homeless, but how to dominate. So let's boot up the game, and here we go. Nakari Homeless Run in Immortal Empires. I'll be trying it on very hard and hard. Of course, we start small, with just one minor settlement on the beautiful island of Ulthuan, home to the most delicious souls, best of friends, with benefits. Well, we don't need this coastside villa. Nowadays nobody can afford it anyways, so let's just abandon it, we're better off homeless. But what do we have to accomplish to win this run? Let's check our victory conditions. For a short victory, we have to destroy or dominate Avelorn, Etain and Ivres, the three major elven factions on the homeland. If everything goes right, this will be easy by dominating these factions. However, it also says that we have to win 35 settlement battles. With the state my army is in, this might take a little longer. If we also take a short look at the long campaign victory, it's mostly more of the same. Simply become the hegemon over all of Ulthuan. So let's get into it. You might wonder how to do this, but the Dark Prince definitely gave us the tools we need. This is our most important tool, the cultists of Slaanesh. We'll use them to spread the gift of Slaanesh and build cults in his glory, so the mortal races will fall to his excess. We fight the first battle like normal, but then we decide to go for their walled settlement first, so they don't build up too much of an army. Oh, and before I forget, I chose Mortal Lust as our first technology, to get some very much needed diplomacy from the Northmen when I plan to crash with Nakari later. Back to the conquest. We barely managed to capture the victory point, and because the elven spearmen here were nearly unbreakable, Nakari has to do it almost alone, but barely manages with a Pyrrhic victory. But now I realize that I have to raise the settlement if I want to subjugate them later. The other way around might have been better. At least it will allow us to leave Ulthuan sooner, but my mistake immediately gets called as Kotik decides to colonize the ruins right away. This will leave my future vassal a bit weaker. Anyway, on to the next turn. Nakari did not replenish at all. They might even have taken some damage, depending on which moment the settlement gets abandoned. So here, I have to fight another very hard battle. I forget to confirm the seduction, so it's 9 against 9, just with my units terribly damaged. But Slaanesh is kinging flanking and breaking, so we manage to rout the enemies off the map and gain a Pyrrhic victory. Now we can go ahead with our first subjugation. This will bring us some very needed devotees. We immediately change Nakari's stance to encamp, so he stops taking attrition and can start recover at least a little bit now in friendly territory. The key move of this run will be this, establishing cults. And with enough devotees, cultists can be chained to create cult after cult, as every new cult with an atelier provides us with another cultist. We end the turn to get another cultists, and we immediately build 2 more of those building for the cultists. And with this, it's already time for Nakari to leave the island, as we don't want to risk them being attacked by hostile forces here. It would mean game over. We start our next turn as usual by expanding the cults. This time we go further to Avelorn, as I want to subjugate them first. To get new devotees and also make the factions fall to Slaanesh faster, we need to spread the gifts of the Prince of Pleasure to as many lords as possible. And we immediately manage to get Eltharion, despite the low chance. Does this mean we have the Chaos Prince's blessing? This is where the high difficulty actually helps this run, since the AI will have more lords than usual to spread the gifts to. It's one of the few saving graces, since it will be impossible to research one of the best Slaaneshi technologies, the Everlasting Gift technology, that boosts devotees immensely. Meanwhile, our Lord Nkari has nothing better to do than sail and get the occasional treasure at sea. With that, it's time to go further north, where factions will be more friendly. As Nkari cannot encamp at sea, their army is hit with constant attrition, so I have to be careful. Luckily, back on Ulthuan things look better, as the cult starts to spread through Avelorn nicely. After meeting them, we managed to get a non-aggression pact with Be'lakor, to finally find a safe haven to rest for a while. However, I realized with a shock that there's no option for military access pacts. As it turns out, if you have no lands, you cannot trade military access with anyone, probably since you cannot grant access to any lands in exchange. We might not be welcome, but we tried to go to Be'lakor to mooch off him anyways. We were too late, however, as Nkari dies of attrition right on the turn after we reached the island's shore. On the plus side, the new lord costs much less in upkeep, so maybe switching even earlier might have been a good call. As attrition got to the troops anyways, and we need the money for more cultists, we disband the last of our troops. Meanwhile, we further managed to spread more gifts, and even got Tyrion on the very first try. This run might really be blessed. I like gifts on legendary lords the most. The gift's effect may not be stronger, but the gift never gets lost by the lord dying. But we have some bad news from the north. We realize that we start to overstay our welcome as Be'lakor starts to dislike us more and more. I definitely don't want him to declare war on us, so we're forced to move on. It might be better that way, as we might find some cargo at sea to give us just a little bit of a boost. But just as we're leaving, here come the French and threaten us for money. No, absolutely no. I will not be threatened by the French. As we're moving further north, as we hit turn 15, and we see our influence on Avelorn grow nicely, as we manage to make them curious already. A few turns later, our lonely lord reaches the far and cold Norska. Here we can take another small breather while waiting for Avelorn to fall to our meanwhile frosty loins. We're waiting in the cold, but it's only a matter of time, and our devotees are increasing nicely as we already get 100 per turn from gifts. This means we can build another cult building every 2.5 turns. But not just gifts are increasing nicely, so does our influence on Avelorn. It looks like another 3 turns and they will finally fall to the perfect prince. Just so that I got something to do, we send our lone lord to further travel the northern sea to find more friends and loot. It took 4 more turns after all, but we finally did it. Avelorn is on the precipice. Just one more push and they fall to Slaanesh. Hello there, Alariel. I've come to inform you. You are now my bitch! And so falls the most pure of elven factions. Just look at that nice boost in income. We're finally in the green again. But this is just the first step. Lothern has managed to grow nicely in the meanwhile. And it would be a shame not to harvest. So let's move on to our next target, Attain. We know the drill. Spread the gift and spread the cults. Previous efforts are already paying off nicely. Our influence is going well already. We can expect ample harvest soon. Spreading Slaanesh's splendor proceeds nicely. Our devotees per turn are already up to 175 per turn. This allows us to snowball harder and harder, just as our Dark Prince likes it. However, I worry a bit about Lothern. They may be strong to the north, but the vampires conquered Calador and start to advance on that territory. We can't have that. They are our prey after all. Since Alariel's armies are near their base in Calador, I order Alariel to go support my future prey Lothern against those brutish invaders. The vampires are nearly worthless to me. If we're already talking about Alariel, look at that. She's taking attrition? It seems either the tribute to our faction is bleeding her dry, or she lost her AI cheats when she became our vassal. Anyways, I'm sure she'll manage. And it didn't take long at all. They drove back the vampires back swiftly. Meanwhile, in the north, all of my cultists that have failed critically gathered around my lord. We spread them out and sent them down to Norsca to later reach Kislev and the Empire. On the island we also spread to Yvres and the other factions. Losing some cultists in Ulthuan is not much of a blow though. Blow. Sorry about that. Well, anyways, there's not much left to do here. Nearly every lord has received the perfect princess gift already. So we'll only leave some fresh cultists here to establish some more cults while we search for new souls to dominate. Since some of the cultists already are on the east coast, let's go show the French how much their wine sucks compared to what we consume in the cult of Slaanesh. The rest will go west to Morathi, as she and Malekith usually expand quite well, especially without the high elves we pacified. As we start running out of income again, we have to disband some of the cultists right after they establish a cult. That way we can chain cults as long as we have sufficient devotees, without ruining our economy. I digress for a moment. You know when this happens? For me this is the most annoying thing in Warhammer. My lord had just a little step of movement planned, so I didn't get a notification to move them. Luckily it didn't cost me the game. But that frustration aside, now on turn 37, Lodorn 2 is finally on the precipice. Even Anaerion's heir falls to the Prince of Chaos. Hello there, Tyrion. Yeah, Great Guardian or whatever. Sure you are. You know what you really are? You are my bitch now. Finally, we expand our power and fill our coffers again. You might have noticed that the turns jump very fast, but most of the campaign is just spreading cults and gifts with heroes. And then waiting to harvest. I'm constantly staring at the end turn. Here's just a small sped up example of how most turns look like. Anyways, we now have the two biggest high elven factions under us. Our power certainly grows, but it's only political. And, as you know, relying on the AI has often wonky results, as they just do as they please usually. But I'm sure Slaanesh has no issue with that. What we however do have an issue with is our military power. You can see the balance of power is nearly all red compared to the other factions. Some factions take advantage of that and threaten us for money. How dare you, Katerina! I must accept this time, as our lord is not too far away from Kislev and it could be troublesome. But apart from the occasional threat for money, the AI seems remarkably docile. Probably since there are no settlements to gain in a war with us. But even so, now that our income is up from tributes, we can afford to pay the occasional threat. Not just our finances, but also our devotee income comes along nicely. As we spread the cult further through Morathi's land, we now get more than we need for a cult every turn. However, we need to be careful in the north, where our lord is traveling in solitude. We occasionally have to change them, since we don't want to find out what happens if their health actually reaches 0 by attrition. My guess is that we probably lose the army since the Lord is the only unit we have. We also advance far north with our cultists in the west. We spread so far north from Morathi that we found the Slaughterhome tribe. They like us a lot, so we decide to ally ourselves with them, since they pay very well for agreements, and if I recruit their units later, they will be free of upkeep. The limit doesn't really matter, since I only have one army. But I should have known that this was a bad idea. Never do military alliances, as it immediately backfires when the beastmen declare war on Malekith just one turn later. Guess it's good my cultists and lord are in the north too. At the moment the war doesn't touch us anyway. We've already reached the endpoint for Naggarond. He can rest on Sigvald's frozen couch far in the north. Maybe we can even go attack Naggarond later. It's not too far away. It would be more efficient to keep traveling, but it's much safer that way. So here he is now, far in the frozen north, waiting and freezing their loins off. But at least that makes them hard. You know, from freezing I mean. However, even far in safety, the AI found it smart to threaten us again. This time I won't have it. They are close to my vassals, so let's see what happens if you threaten me. The Slaaneshi tide upon you. Just look at that. So many wars at once. What is this? Warhammer 2 end times? Because we disbanded so many cultists, our cultist limit increased more than the number of cultists we have, so we can destroy some of the cult buildings to get more devotees. We do that in Avelorn, since they already have fallen for us. Next we use the overflow of devotees to proliferate cults for the first time in our campaign. This allows us to get some footholds far away. We get two notable ones. One near the center of the Empire, Camperbot, and one in the far east. Just a short wait later, it's going very well, even if Res is now on the precipice, ready to be dominated. The last faction we need for our victory is now laid bare before us in their own prison towers. We all know what kind of dungeons they will become now, right? So, Eltharion, come to the dungeon. You are my bitch now. Now we have caught them all. We finally fulfilled the first victory condition. We only need to win enough settlement battles now, but this will need some more preparations first. The only options I have for armies are cultists and ally recruitment. Luckily there are a lot of cultists near Naggarond from all the failed actions, so we can use them. For ally recruitment, we best take Frost Phoenixes, as they have a nice debuff around them and they can keep up with Naggarond and the cultist speed. We also get some free chaff from the beastmen as meal shields. As our cultists spread far and wide, even through the lands of the Chaos Dwarfs, I see that some of the regions are bugged. Here for example, there's no slot to build a cult building. I don't think it's intentional, or is it supposed to mean that Chaos Dwarfs are immune to Slaanesh? They don't seem to be for the gift. On the other side of the world, however, it's going great. The Cult of Pleasure is about to fall for, well, our Cult of Pleasure. If there only wasn't a cooldown after Ivres. We have everything else we need, we just have to wait. But wait we will. They will be soon ours, my prince. And the wait will just make it sweeter, as soon as it's time. Well, not really though, but I have to find some explanation as to why we can't immediately do it. With that much ground covered, we managed to spread that many gifts of Slaanesh that we get a whopping 455 devotees per turn already, even without the better tech. That means there must be 91 lords that currently have the gift of Slaanesh. After many more turns, my army is finally ready to do some battling, and we finally fight the first battle since about 2.5 hours. I see we're being tempted by the Autoresolve. We can get a Pyrrhic victory with it. Maybe it might help Naggarond to get the hit point trait. And besides, who are we to resist temptation? So well, we go for it. Maybe that wasn't the best idea. Just look at my units now, all heavily damaged. But now, with our nice devotee income, I think we can afford a disciple army. Wow, this just feels great. After so long, we finally have another army. And we finally have some units. Let's put them to use immediately. We can catch one of Naggarond's forces in force march. This time, we cannot afford to auto-resolve again, as it would kill some of my heroes. So we fight a manual battle of medium difficulty and get a very nice victory. If we're at it, this is something I wondered a few times before. Why are the unique cards in the victory screen much smaller here? I wonder what causes that. These both battles cost us a lot of health, so we then retreat to get some replenishment. Unfortunately, the disciple army will take some damage from being homeless, even with a Slaaneshi corruption of 100 in the region. And that's not all the good news we have. Our cooldown for domination is finally over. That means we can dominate Morathi now. Just look at this. Now that it finally pays off, I almost feel ecstatic. They are the biggest faction on the map, and now they belong to Slaanesh. Hello, Morathi. You know, I'm somewhat of a collector myself. So now you too are my bitch now. Gotta catch them all after all. Just look what it does to our income. It's now up to over 6k. Oh, and what's that? Hey, what's wrong, disciple? Already trembling in anticipation, I see? Wait, is this the reason for the trembling? Some random faction across the world decides to declare war on me for no particular reason? Why now? We're stronger than ever. All that after I praised the AI for being so docile this run. Just look at that there on the other side of the world. Well, it doesn't matter that much. All it does is causing Clan Square to break their alliance with us. Shame, I would have loved to test some of their units in my stack. Anyways, 5 turns after our last battle, we come back replenished and we finally managed to fill Nakkari's stack to 20. Naggarond used that time to send more stacks our way. Even good old Malekith himself came. How nice. We set an ambush here and hope he tries to force march here to attack with an army. Well, it's a shame they didn't take the bait and gathered their forces instead. One stack seems to be vulnerable though, since they didn't take my hidden army into account. Again, we're being tempted. We cannot resist, we have to take the bait. It says close defeat here and the stack looks a bit intimidating, especially those Cardibisses. They are effective against half our army, since the cultists are on the horse. In addition, most of my cultists are still low level, so no gate of Slaanesh yet, but it's a good chance for them to get some experience. In the end, we decide to seduce 2 units of Dread Spears and Dark Shards in hope to reduce their stacks a bit and maybe kill their Cardibisses with missiles. Well, it didn't go exactly as planned. Our troops just broke too fast. Only thanks to my cultist team with Nakkari, we managed to defeat and isolate them, unit by unit. And I said only thanks, not only fans. At least it gets us another Pyrrhic victory. A day may come when Nakkari finally gets the bloody trait. But it is not this day. But now there's something strange. I swear we still had some movement left, but for some reason I cannot fall back. Strange, but well, let's just ignore it. It seems fine anyways. The remaining stacks are not that big or threatening. Or that much I thought. We should have checked better. It seems I was too lenient though. Naggarond has another stack far away on the sea and marches it all the way here to support their army. Even worse, the previous issue persists. For some reason, I cannot retreat at all. I have no idea why. The army was not in forced march, nor is it the second attack. The stack also looks quite dangerous, but I think there is a way. Luckily, Slaanesh won't let me down. I find that all the marks of Slaanesh in the region make seduction extremely cheap here. Shades are supposed to be over 2000, but now not even 1000. That means I can charm 4 of their really good units. So I take 3 of their shades, their probably strongest damage dealers, along with their most mobile unit that could cause trouble for me. This surprisingly changes it to a Pyrrhic victory again. Why always those Pyrrhic victories? Again, the temptation. I don't really want to fight this, since a small mistake will mean that the cultist dies. So I guess we'll take the Pyrrhic victory. After the turn, however, it turns out that that was a terrible mistake. Naggarond approached with another stack, even worse. I didn't think of the attrition damage. My heroes might have survived the battle, but they were so low health that attrition damage killed my only allures. That means we can say goodbye to the Lore of Shadows now. Even worse, we still cannot move. What the heck is going on? If Malekith catches us now, it's game over. I don't get it. The army has full movement, and even forced march doesn't help. The army will not move. Oh no. Why? The run was so blessed. Slaanesh must enjoy toying with me. After a lot of deliberation, I finally found the reason. I don't know why, but when I defeated a previous army, their mage was left alive. Nakkari moved onto that mage after the battle, and now occupies the same space as she does. That means the whole army is now permanently blocked from moving. Just because of her. Look at her. Only 92 hit points remaining, but 92 seems enough. Not even my agents can leave the army. She really took Block Army to a whole new level. The only possible idea I have is to wound that hero, but we only have 2 heroes near. Even worse, one of those heroes is exhausted and the other only has a 36% chance of success. This is it. I have to risk it all. All on this move. It's do or die. If this fails, 6 hours of play are wasted. And of course, a crit fail. Well, this is as far as we go. I'm sure it's possible to win, but the game decided to play cheap. I learned how easy it is to fall into Slaanesh's disgrace. Well then, thanks for watching. Yeah, I know you can see that the video still has a few minutes left. Did you really think I would give up here? Well, if the game cheats, I can do that too. I have a lot of heroes. Every time they use an action, a predetermined RNG number is used to decide the outcome. There must be an RNG that allows me to wound that hero. By using hero after hero and then reloading, we are able to test as many RNG numbers as we have heroes that can perform actions. We just need to find an RNG that lets us succeed with this action. In theory, it should be around every third action. In practice, however, no, the game hates me. I had to load many times. After failing over 10 times, the very last of our heroes is the exhausted one. Luckily, there's still a single target where an action is possible. So we use her, and she fails. Critically. Now this is the last RNG I have after this fail. All others failed. Now this is my very last chance. If this fails, I cannot save my campaign. Probably only Legend could. Oh, praise the great Slaanesh. Yes, I am finally free. Well, but now what? Force marching away might be safer, but I definitely lose some of my cultists to attrition. Luckily, another disciple army is ready. Sometimes things seem to work out. So our plan is to move away in an encamp stance and set an ambush with the disciple army. We managed to ambush the first army. We managed to beat the first army. Luckily, it was just dread spears. Our losses were slim and Naggarond even managed to heal a little. But it's not over yet. Malekith himself comes to catch up with my army. This will not be easy. Interestingly, after seducing a chariot and a dread spears unit, the game actually thinks it's a crushing defeat, not a close defeat anymore. Early on I hide my units to take out their fast ones first, and I even got lucky as Malekith was so stupid to go in the vanguard himself. I'm really amazed how well Seekers of Slaanesh can deal with Malekith. After he's gone, it's much easier to break his army. And I think I can be proud of myself. I didn't just win the match. I somehow even managed to keep all the cultists alive. Some of them went into battle with only 212 HP remaining. And it's not like I didn't use them, I had to. And I think this great victory is the perfect point to end this challenge. It was close sometimes, but I think the worst is over. Naggarond's deck is safe, and now with so much XP from battles, I have a lot of cultists who learn the Gate of Slaanesh. With this, the stack is not far from becoming a Doomstack. It can already easily handle a settlement with half an army in it. Just imagine summoning that many demonites up to 3 times per battle. And of course, don't forget the Keeper of Secrets. Naggarond is on the precipice too, so they're basically beat. Only 3 more turns and Malekith will be my bitch too. After that, if we look at the map, the whole northwestern map will be under control of a homeless Naggarond. Our diplomatic situation looks strong as well. If you look at it, we're already basically an order tide, or better said, Slaaneshi tide. So, this is it. This is where the story of Naggarond and his homeless harem ends. Thanks for watching. Please let me know how you liked it and what else you'd like to see. And maybe, if you feel generous, why not support me by, and you know what's coming, like, comment and subscribe. RPG Hardman, out.